What's up, Wise Flyers? David here. Chase Sapphire Reserve Card came out with its announcement of new changes to the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card, and the majority of people are not too happy with it. Regardless of whether or not you're going to use the new benefits of DoorDash or Lyft, the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card is now the same price annual fee as the American Express Platinum Card. And if we compare the benefits between both those cards, Platinum Card has way more benefits, which is why I think a lot of people are disappointed because Chase didn't add more multipliers or other benefits that can make it at least on par with the American Express Platinum Card. Now, Chase's poor decision doesn't mean that we should all just jump ship on the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card and get rid of it. I think there's still a lot of value to be had out of it. It just depends how much. In this video, I'm going to give you some specific calculations of how to determine whether or not you're going to get more than $550 in value with the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card. I'm going to give some alternative cards to the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card, and then I'm going to give you a really good spreadsheet resource of how to determine the value that you're going to get from the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card or any other premium card. It's a really amazing resource which I'll give to you later on in the video. I want to clear one thing up. Chase is not running a charity here. Chase does not care how much value you're going to get from the card. They just want to collect their annual fee, make sure you keep the card open, and be happy with benefits that hopefully you don't use. Now you can see that Chase went for a specific target market when adding DoorDash and Lyft, because those are going to be mainly for people who live in metropolitan areas who need rideshare like Lyft or Uber. But for someone like me who lives in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I have a family and my own car, I am not going to use Lyft too much, and I'm not going to use DoorDash, although since my annual fee isn't going to come until October of 2020, I'm not going to cancel this card right away, although I made a video talking about it. I think any rational person would at least try to use these benefits and get a lot of value out of it before that $550 annual fee comes due. So since I'm not going to have to pay $550 until October, I'm gonna keep the card and try to use as much of it as possible. And come October 2020, if I'm not gonna get enough value out of this card and the calculations just don't work, the benefits don't please me, then I'll probably downgrade it to a Chase Freedom Card. For me, it's just all a bonus until October. Like the $60 DoorDash credits, I'm more than happy to use, and I do plan on using Lyft at least one time before October. I wanna give you a specific number of whether or not Lyft Pink is actually gonna make it beneficial to you. So with Lyft Pink, the primary benefit of this is the membership, and you get 15% off of all rides, which I think is pretty good. But you need to spend a certain amount of money in order to get enough value back. 15% off rides sounds good, but if you're not using it that much, then it doesn't really make sense. So if you spend $667 on ride shares throughout the year, even if it's Uber, then it could make sense to put those purchases on the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card because you're gonna get $100 back, which will definitely make up that extra $100 that Chase is going to charge you for the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card. The cool thing is, until March 2022, is that you're going to get 10 points per dollar for those same Lyft shares. So you're going to get 6,700 Chase Ultimate Reward points for $670 in purchases. If you were to just cash that out as cash back, that's $67. But if you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card, you should never, ever, ever do cash back. This is mainly a travel card because you're gonna get 1.5 cents per point with those 67,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points, or 6,700 Chase Ultimate Reward points. If you were to take that 6,700 Chase Ultimate Reward points, use it through the travel portal at 1.5 cents per point, that's gonna give you 10,000 points, which is gonna give you $100, 5 points. So if you're gonna make $670 in Lyft purchases, you're essentially gonna get around $200 in value. $100 with the 15% off saved on Lyft rides through Pink membership, and then $100 assuming you're gonna use the Chase portal with the 1.5 cents per point. Even if you're not gonna hit $670 for Lyft purchases, I still think you could get enough value to make up that additional $100 with DoorDash. So if you didn't watch my other video on the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card, my plan, backup plan, pretty much is if by October I'm not getting enough value from the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card, I'm gonna downgrade it to the Chase Freedom Card. So personally, the two most used benefits that I get with the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card is Priority Pass lounge access and 3 points per dollar for dining. When it comes to Priority Pass lounge access, my plan of attack there is probably to get so I have a family member who has the American Express Platinum Card. If I become an authorized user, pay $175 for it, then I get access to all the lounges that any primary cardholder gets. So that's Priority Pass, Centurion, Delta Sky Club, and a few others. The big argument here though is what about that 1.5 cents per point through the travel portal with the Chase Sapphire Reserve card? Personally, I don't really use that feature, and I'm able to get more than 1.5 cents per point through other methods with Chase points. I think transfer partners definitely give you more value, but more specifically, I use Hyatt a lot for hotels whenever I travel. So just in 2019, I went to the Grand Hyatt Kauai, and that was awesome. That was 25,000 points, and I think it was a little more than $500 for the room, so I got more than 2 cents per point there. Stayed at the Grand Hyatt Tampa, and then probably one of the best redemptions I did of the year was at the Orlando Convention Center Hyatt place. That was 24,000 or is 8,000 Hyatt points per night, 24,000 points for 3 nights, but it would have cost $864 for those 3 nights. So I got more than 3 cents per point with that redemption. And Hyatt in general is really easy to get a lot of value out of, more than 1.5 cents per point, most likely 2 cents per point or higher when it comes to using Hyatt. It all comes down to the math too of how much you're spending on the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. So you're gonna get 3 points per hour with travel and dining. Now, if you're not gonna eat out or travel much, then it doesn't really make sense to keep the card and try to use that 1.5 cents per point value or the benefit that it offers. So let me give you a quick example. Let's just say throughout the year, you're maxing out those 3X categories and you get $10,000 in spend on those purchases. So now with these 10,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points, if you use it at a 1.5 cents per point through the travel portal, you're gonna get an extra $50 in value there. So 10,000 points is gonna equal $150. Depending on how much you think you're gonna spend, or if you have the card, how much you do spend, just use that 10,000 base reference for your personal example of how much you're gonna spend. Because if your goal is just to use that 1.5 cents per point through the travel portal, great, but you want to make sure that you're getting enough money back. If you're only going to get like 5,000 points a year with the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, then you're only getting $25 back. So does it really make sense to pay $550 just for that 1.5 cents per point redemption if you're only getting a few $1,000s in points or a few thousand points a year? So for me, that's why it's an easy decision to get rid of the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, because that 1.5 cents per point doesn't really mean much. It's the other benefits that the card offers, like travel protections too. But I'm gonna show you that math specifically later on in the video with that really good spreadsheet resource that you could have for free as well. But first, let me give some card alternatives. Once you've decided what you really like about the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, most likely you could get it with other cards as well. It's a very competitive credit card market now, and a lot of these cards are constantly offering more and more benefits to compete with each other, which makes it really good for us consumers. First option is gonna be the American Express Platinum card. So you can pick and choose what you want from this card, see if it's worth getting in place of the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. Now, when it comes to the Chase Sapphire Reserve and American Express Platinum card, I feel like a lot of people think that these are the cards to work up to. Like, you start out with the lower end cards, secured cards, get your Freedom cards and whatever cards, and then you get the premium cards, because that's kind of like climbing up the ladder, and once you get the premium card, then you've made it in the credit card game. But that's not always the case. You really need to figure out which parts of the card that you really like and that'll benefit you. American Express Platinum card is going to come with great lounge access, better than the Chase Sapphire Reserve. It's going to come with travel protections, although the Chase Sapphire Reserve has better travel protections. The credits with the American Express Platinum card are horrible. They're really annoying and really hard to use. Maybe not so much the Uber credit and the Saks Fifth, but that airline incidental fee credit is really hard. You can only spend $200 so much on ham sandwiches on a plane. But for the frequent traveler, it's really easy to get a lot of value out of the Platinum card. It's like a no-brainer. Next premium card we're going to talk about is the Citi Prestige card. So this card cut a bunch of its travel protection. So if you're looking for travel purchases, then this may not be the card for you, but it does offer lounge access and 5x multiplier for dining. But it also depends on how much you're actually going to spend with this card to justify the $495 annual fee. 4th night free option, which I think is probably the best benefit of the Citi Prestige card. Basically, you book any hotel and you're gonna get the 4th night free. The US Bank Altitude Reserve is also another option, sort of given the 1.5 cents per point redemption through the travel portal if you're just looking for general travel, you don't really want transfer partners. But Dustin from Waller's Wallet pointed out a really good point that the prices are inflated and not the easiest to redeem when it comes to the Altitude Reserve card. If you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve card and thinking about getting rid of it, let me know what your strategy or replacement would be for that. I just want to point out the obvious too. You never want to just cancel a card. So if you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, it's best to downgrade it to either Chase Sapphire Preferred or Chase Freedom Unlimited card. Don't just cancel the card. Now I want to point out this really great spreadsheet resource that'll help you determine whether or not the Chase Sapphire Reserve card is worth getting or keeping. Thanks to Greg over at Frequent Miler, he put together this great spreadsheet. It's completely free. I'll have a link to it down in the description below, but it helps break down each of the benefits and see how much value you're gonna get from it. So it gives you the estimated value in this column and then your value of what you're gonna get, and then you could put the reasons why. I wanted to also point out that 1.5 cents per point, if we look up top, it really depends how much you're gonna spend here. I know it could be hard to determine how much value you're gonna get from each of these things on the spreadsheet, but if you give your best estimated value, make sure you don't double the value of what you think and try to be as conservative as possible. Now, this spreadsheet is really good for helping you figure out your second year strategy, because first year, if you're just gonna get the card, you're gonna get all these benefits, the sign-up offer and initial perks, but then what about year two? So this is gonna help you determine what your value year after year, not including the sign-up offer. And if we look up a spreadsheet, you have a bunch of other cards you could do the same thing with to see if it's worth getting or worth keeping. So after looking at the spreadsheet, let me know what your thoughts are on the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, if it's still worth keeping or going for. And if you want to learn more about the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, I have a playlist over here. And if you want to learn about my 7 Chase credit cards that I have currently, I give a review on all of them and my strategy, you could click this video down here, and I'll see you in the next video.